Your teen requested a ride, but this time not from you. It's through their Uber teen account. You drive your teenager around, a lot, to their friend Jacob's house, their other friend Jake's house, to James's, to Jaden's, to Jalen's, to...
Mom? This is Jake's house, not Jacob's.
Now with an Uber teen account, your teen can request a ride under your supervision. They'll ride with a highly rated driver, and with live trip tracking, you'll follow along the whole ride to their friends' houses that all sound the same. Add your teen to your Uber account today. See app for details.
Bye, Mom.
The Starbucks cold brew you love is now available in a can. It's so good you'll believe that too good to be true can be true. Like finding out that you and your crush have been listening to the same playlist on repeat. With the smooth taste of Starbucks cold brew in a can, sipping is believing. Available in 3 delicious flavors. Shop now wherever you buy groceries. Click or tap the banner to learn more.
This is a special bonus episode of the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast.
If you've ever dabbled in DIY home improvement, you'll likely empathize with the calamities depicted in this often overlooked 80s flick. It's the classic tale of renovation gone awry, starring Tom Hanks and Shelley Long as a couple who snag a mansion at a bargain only to realize after the deal is done why it was priced so low. While the critics weren't overly impressed, for countless fans it remains a cherished early entry in Tom Hanks' filmography. So watch out for collapsing stairs, airborne turkeys, and weak trees as Gerry D and I discuss The Money Pit from 1986 on this special bonus episode of the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast.
Walter needs to change his luck.
Walter, brighten up.
Anna is about to change her mind.
Walter!
The maestro is about to change their lives.
What have we done, Almighty?
And their dream house has just changed into the Money Pit.
I'm going to help you.
You have a gun? Steven Spielberg presents Tom Hanks and Shelley Long in The Money Pit, a Richard Benjamin film. Rated PG. Starts Wednesday at select theaters.
I'm Tim Williams, the mastermind behind the mic at the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast. Joining me on each epic episode is a guest co-host who's as crazy about 80s flicks as they are about wearing parachute pants and solving Rubik's Cubes. We're diving into nostalgic treasures we saw at the local theater, rented on VHS tapes, or discovered on cable TV. From blockbusters that make you say,
I feel the need for speed,
to hidden gems that'll have you screaming,
"They're here!"
It's a blast to relive these old memories and share our thoughts on what made these movies so special. We reminisce about our first time watch experiences, share our favorite scenes, and even discover fascinating behind the scenes tales about the cast and crew along the way. Haven't hit that subscribe button yet? What are you waiting for?
Come on, do it!
On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform. And hey, while you're at it, be a pal and drop us a written review along with a 5-star rating to tell us what you think about us.
The sportos and motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, they all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
Take a day off and come hang out with us on social media. Just search 80s Flick Flashback on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And don't forget to bookmark 80sflickflashback.com for more gnarly content.
Get out of town. I didn't know you did anything creative.
Want to crank it all the way up to 11? Become a supporter on buymeacoffee.com for only $5 a month.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Click the link in our episode show notes, and while you're there, soak up the extra trivia and fun stuff that didn't make it into today's show. Thanks again for tuning in. Now, let's get right into today's episode.
Welcome to the party, pal!
All right, welcome in, everybody. So glad to have you on this special bonus Forgotten 80s Flick episode of 80s Flick Flashback Podcast. And we're talking about a great movie, and with a great movie comes a great co-host, and glad to have him back on the show and by himself this time. I've been doing a lot of combos, but this is just me and Gerry D. How you doing, Gerry?
I'm great. I love this movie. I mean, is it the best movie? No, but it's amazing.
No. Of course, Gerry D is from Totally Rad Christmas Podcast, which I'm so honored to have won an award on his recent Raddies episode. So it only took 4 or 5 years, but I finally got in there. And it was a technical win, which I'm not really sure what I won, but I won something. So.
It still counts as a Raddie.
It counts.
It's just like, how they always do those the technical Oscars like the night before, where it's more for like for things that aren't like major headlines, like best actor or whatever. So it's not Raddest Halloween movie, but it is Raddest flashback to 80s flicks podcast.
There you go.
So
sure, yeah. That's equivalent to like the second to the assistant of the director of photography award. No,
you still worked on the movie. You still worked on it.
It got recognition, and that's what it's all about. So yeah. I'm still waiting for my trophy in the mail, but it's all good.
yeah. It'll get there eventually.
Eventually. All right, well, Gerry, let's jump right in. When did you see The Money Pit for the first time?
Oh, this was back in the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't see it in the theaters. I remember that, but it was definitely like a year afterwards because it was on. We rented it. I specifically remember we went to this little place called Movie Land Video. It was right by Mr. Gaddy's and Mr. Gaddy's Pizza. I don't know if you guys have them, but so we ate at Mr. Gaddy's Pizza, which is like all you can eat pizza buffet. It was great. And then we went to Movie Land Video, and we would always rent like movies and maybe a couple of video games. So in 87, I think it's when we actually got our Nintendo. And so we would have rented whatever game was out there. But I do remember we rented this movie, and my parents watched it first because they had to make sure it was okay. And, even though they didn't do that for all of them, I don't know, but whatever. So they watched it. And then the next night we watched it. So it was a Saturday night, and we were just laughing the whole time. There's a bunch of sight gags. I mean, it's slapstick comedy. There's a lot of some of the other jokes that we didn't get, but it was so much fun. So and then they showed it on HBO like all the time. So we watched it all the time. So it was definitely around 87 probably when I saw it.
Yeah, I was trying to remember. It's like I have a vivid memory of watching this on VHS with a group of friends of mine, like on a Friday night, like it's a weekend, we're sleeping over, the parents, I think it's like a group of us, the teenagers, and the parents were gone out. So they were, we're better in numbers. We'll just stay at home, eat hot dogs and popcorn and watch movies.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, I was like, I think I saw this. I think we went to see this at a dollar theater when we lived in Texas. I lived in El Paso, Texas for about 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And that was like 86. So that's about the right time. So I think we saw this in the theater first. And then when it came on video, I was like, oh, I can't wait to watch it again because I've loved it so much seeing in the theater. And I remember my friend Jason and Jeremy Prescott. It was 3 brothers. Jason and Jeremy were both my age. Jason was I think a year or 2 older than me. Jeremy was like a year younger. So I was like, it was like the 3 of us. I was right in between the 2 of them. And we were at their house. And I remember Jason laughing so hard and like tears rolling down his face and like falling out of the chair. Right. And so, which made me laugh even harder just watching his reaction to it. So that's probably my most vivid memory of watching this movie is watching it with Jason and Jeremy and him just completely losing it. And I think it was the part when the tub falls through. We'll talk about favorite scenes, but when the tub falls through, that he had lost all control. Like that
Tom Hanks gives like the weirdest laugh ever.
The weirdest laugh ever. Yeah, yeah.
But so I get it. I get why you would crack up at that.
Oh yeah. And we're thinking about we were the perfect age for that. I mean,
right.
Middle school, that age for the sight gags and,
right.
Not really thinking a lot about logic or, people making right decisions. It's just, it's all for comedy and we're there for it.
Exactly. Like who cares about plot?
Yeah.
If it's funny. We're going to laugh.
Exactly. So how long has it been since you rewatched it for the podcast?
So I rewatched it last week. So it's been a week, but this is one that, and I have very fond memories of this because when my wife and I were first starting to date, So we'd gone to see a couple of movies here and there. We went to dinner a couple of times, but we decided to make dinner. It was like a Friday night. She was exhausted. I was like, let me just make you dinner and, just come over. We'll watch a movie and, whatever. So I invite her over and I had a bunch of DVDs because this was, like 17 years ago or whatever.
Right.
So I still had physical media and I had a bunch of DVDs, but nothing that really was like her taste. They were all like sci-fi, fantasy, comic book. And so I did have The Money Pit though on DVD. So we put it on, and ever since then, it's been one of our favorite movies to watch together, and we just laugh.
Right.
So we watch it not every year, but like every other year, or sometimes we'll watch it like 2 times a year. But there was a period where we had it like DVR'd, and we were watching it to fall asleep like every night. We'd fall asleep to it. So I've watched it a lot, but for the show, I watched it last week.
Yeah. It had been a while. I had bought it was on TV probably in the last 2 years. I don't even know which, on cable with commercials or whatever.
Right.
But I remember I think my wife was actually watching it and she just had the TV on. She was in and out of the bedroom and I had gone in there to get something. And it was the part where he's going out to get water. And of course he falls to the hole and like that whole part of the outside falling part, which I'll go ahead and split out. Like that is my favorite scene. Like that is the epitome of the scenes. And I stopped. I was like, I have to stop and watch this whole portion of the movie before the commercial. Like I stood in my bedroom with the TV on and just watched it. But to watch it all the way through, it's been several years. It probably came on or it was able to stream or was on one of the cable channels probably 10 or 15 years ago, and I watched it. But I was able to get like a 3 DVD combo of Tom Hanks movies. I think it's like The Burbs. Nice. Is The Burbs, Dragnet, and Money Pit. I'm like, well, you can't go wrong with that for like $12. So
yeah, those are like all great movies.
Yeah. So so when we got home tonight, I said I need to watch it again. And my wife was like, "Do you own this movie?" I'm like, "You say that like that's a weird thing. Like I own a lot of movies, but I think she didn't realize that it was like an old copy. Like she thought maybe I had a digital copy of it.
Oh, I guess.
I was like, nope. I'm pulling out the DVD. I'm putting it in the Xbox, and this is what I'm going to watch for the next hour. And because it's not long, it's like an hour and 35 minutes. So it doesn't take up a whole lot of time. So, but yeah, always an enjoyable watch. It's still, I don't laugh at it as hard as I used to, but there are still scenes that it just make me smile and just make me, I just enjoy it for what it is. And just,
like as a homeowner now, there's some things that hit a little bit differently.
Oh yeah. Right.
Where you're just like, oh man, that hurts. When you see the stairs just fall or, the water. I mean, it's just like, okay.
Yeah. Like as kids, we're just laughing. As adults, we're like, the calculator's going on in our head. Like, how much is this going to cost? Like, what are you like, where are you getting this money from?
Oh, that's thousands right there.
Right.
Yeah.
You didn't get insurance with this house? What kind of idiot are you?
Yeah, I guess things were different back then.
Yeah. All right, well, let's jump into story, origin, and pre-production. Yeah. So this is a forgotten 80s flick, and as I was telling Jerry before we started, wasn't a whole lot of behind the scenes that I could find on this, so there's not a whole lot of pre-production that I can really give you, but this is what I got. So what I did not know until doing the podcast, that this is a remake of a movie from the 1940s. This is it was based on H.C. Potter's Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House, starring Cary Grant and Myrna Loy. The original film holds the number 72 spot on AFI's 100 Years, 100 Laughs list.
I didn't know that either. I was reading that too. That's crazy.
Yeah,
it makes me want to like go back and watch that because that's like such a beloved classic, I guess. But I'd never seen it. My mom loves this movie. It's called My Two Wives, which is I think it's also Cary Grant and Myrna Loy.
Okay.
So I know that their chemistry, like as a duo, is really good. So I kind of want to check it out, but yeah, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So here's the film synopsis of Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House, so you can get some of the comparisons. So it came out in 1948 when advertising executive Jim Blandings, played by Cary Grant, discovers his wife's, played by Myrna Loy's, plan to redecorate their New York apartment. He counters with a proposal that they move to Connecticut. She agrees, and the two are soon conned into buying a house that turns out to be a complete nightmare. Construction and repair bills accumulate quickly, and Jim worries that their future hangs in the balance unless he can come up with a new catchy jingle that will sell ham. Yes, ham, H-A-M. So that was his big, obviously ham was a big seller in 1948.
I guess so, yeah.
He needed a new jingle. But yeah, pretty similar. I mean, I can see how, they took some, creative licensing, making it a little more modern, but I would love to see, the things that go wrong with that house in 1948 and how different it is in 1986.
Right.
So.
Central heating is probably completely new to them.
The dilemma of the producers, and one thing I didn't mention, I thought I had it in the intro, but this was actually produced by Steven Spielberg. So it's the first credit that pops up. It's like Steven Spielberg presents, and so I think that might have been one of the draws for us wanting to go see it, was as a Steven Spielberg movie.
Yeah, Spielberg. I mean, anything he touched back then was like gold.
Right.
So yeah, for sure.
So yeah, so he just produced it. They didn't do much, beyond that, but the other producers were Frank Marshall and Kathleen Kennedy, which are pretty well-known names that we know today. So the biggest dilemma was finding someone who would consent to having their beautiful home partially destroyed. They located the Ritter mansion on the North Shore of Long Island. The house belonged to the family for which the Knight Ritter, not Knight Rider, I had to read it twice, Knight Ritter News Syndicate had been named. As the house was on the market at the time, they consented to have several key sequences shot there. During the course of filming, the house was virtually destroyed and then rebuilt from scratch.
Wow.
During the filming, Mrs. Ritter was reportedly stunned at the sight of the old family home in a semi-demolished state, but was convinced by director Richard Benjamin to appear in one of the movie's final sequences once the place was restored to original condition. So, yeah.
Might as well. If you're going to bribe someone, do it with a
cameo.
A cameo, exactly. But you talked about the Knight Rider. Like, I think it would have been awesome to have Knight Rider meet to be in this movie.
I don't know if the Hasselhoff could save him on this one.
I don't know about that. Yeah,
pretty rough. So like I said, produced by Steven Spielberg, directed by Richard Benjamin, which I recognize that name, and so I did a little research on him because I could picture his face. Like I've seen him in something because I knew he was an actor as well. So he had starred in a number of well-known films, including Goodbye Columbus in '69, Catch-22 in '70, Portnoy's Complaint in '72. He was in Westworld in '73. Yep, and The Sunshine Boys in '75. Yeah. So he was nominated for an Emmy Award for Best Actor in a Comedy Series for his performances in He and She opposite his wife at the time, Paula Prentice. After directing for television, his first film as a director was the 1982 comedy My Favorite Year, starring Peter O'Toole, who was nominated for an Oscar for Best Actor. His other films as a director include City Heat in '84, My Stepmother is an Alien in '88, Mermaids in '90, Made in America in '93, Milk Money in '94, Mrs. Winterbourne in '96, and Marcy X in 2003.
Nice. So some of those I really enjoy. My Stepmother is an Alien is bonkers, next level bonkers, but I like it. Mermaids with Cher, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cher and Winona Ryder. Yeah,
and Winona Ryder. That's right. Yeah. And I like Milk Money as well. That's another.
Yeah, that was a fun movie. As
Ed Harris and
Melanie Griffith.
Melanie Griffith, that's right.
Yeah, I was trying to think of her name first, but yeah,
I was like, Don Johnson's ex.
Yeah, exactly. It's a '90s movie, so I can't really go in. But I remember Milk Money being one that I saw when it came on cable,
right?
And they ran it all the time.
I
think eventually I just recorded it off the cable so I could watch whenever I wanted. But it was just one that was fun to watch.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But out of all those, the one that I remembered or recognized his name for was Westworld.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. Classic sci-fi 70s. Of course, they remade it for a TV show on HBO, which wasn't as good, but
right.
And now these messages.
What's up, dudes? I'm Gerry D of Totally Rad Christmas, the podcast that talks all things Christmas in the 80s. Toys, movies, specials, music, books, fashion, and fads.
If it was gnarly during Christmas in the 80s, he's got it covered. Wait, is there a lot of things to talk about for the 80s and Christmas?
Well, you got the movie giants like Christmas Vacation, Scrooged, and A Christmas Story. There are TV specials like Muppet Family Christmas, Claymation Christmas Celebration, and a Garfield Christmas Special.
Plus classics shown every year.
You also jam out to Last Christmas, Do They Know It's Christmas, and Christmas in Hollis. But most of all, it was a time for the most bodacious, best-selling Christmas toys ever, like He-Man, G.I. Joe, Transformers,
and Cabbage Patch Kids.
Yes, them too. We cover them all, plus much more, including standard segments like Hap Hap Happiest Memory, Gag Me with the Spoon, The Other Half of the Battle,
and Chant with the Littles.
So tune in to Totally Rad Christmas everywhere you get your podcasts. Turn the clock back and dive into those warm and fuzzy memories.
Later, dudes.
Hey there, fellow 80s movie aficionados. Are you ready to embark on a nostalgia-filled journey to the greatest era of cinema? Then look no further than the Retro Life for You 80s Movie Podcast. Join us every week as we rewind the VHS tapes, dust off those Betamax classics, and dive headfirst into the neon-soaked, totally tubular world of the 1980s movies. From the Brat Pack to action heroes, we've got it all covered. Breakfast Club, Ghostbusters, E.T. and Indiana Jones, and more. It's like a trip in Doc Brown's time machine, but without the DeLorean. So whether you're a die-hard 80s film buff or just curious about the cinematic gems of the past, Retro Life for You is your ticket to the ultimate movie time warp. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Retro Life for You, and we can be found anywhere you listen to your podcast, as well as on our website, www.retrolife4u.com.
The Starbucks cold brew you love is now available in a can. It's so good you'll believe that too good to be true can be true. Like finding out that you and your crush have been listening to the same playlist on repeat. With the smooth taste of Starbucks cold brew in a can, sipping is believing. Available in 3 delicious flavors. Shop now wherever you buy groceries. Click or tap the banner to learn more.
Experience a progressive lens engineered with AI from Essilor, powered by individual measurements of your visual behavior. A lens personalized to you by an Essilor expert. Discover Verilux XR Track and enjoy instantly sharp vision in motion and seamless transitions from near to far. Find your local Essilor expert today at Essilor.com.
All right, well, let's jump into casting.
Yeah,
there's not a. I mean, yeah, I don't have a lot of people here. There's only like 3 main characters, and everybody else
right.
is more like side characters. And I have a few like blink and you'll miss them. You recognize them in other things. We'll also talk about them, but let's talk about the man of the hour, Mr. Tom Hanks as Walter Fielding Jr. So Hanks made his breakthrough with leading roles in a series of comedy films that received positive media attention, such as Splash in '84, Big in '88, A League of Their Own in 1992, one of my favorites.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah, he won 2 consecutive Academy Awards for Best Actor for starring in Philadelphia in 1993 and the title character of Forrest Gump in '94. He collaborated with film director Steven Spielberg on 5 films, Saving Private Ryan in '98, Catch Me If You Can in 2002, The Terminal in 2004, Bridge of Spies in 2015, and The Post in 2017, as well as a miniseries Band of Brothers and The Pacific and Masters of the Air that just came out this year. Yeah, it's like I have a whole list of movies he's in. If you don't know who Tom Hanks is,
yeah, at this point,
yeah, there's other podcasts that can help you more than we can, but probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, actors of our generation.
Agreed.
Yeah,
it's hard to agree.
Yeah, and then of course 80s. It was all comedy, like that was his.
Yeah,
that was
that's
his shtick.
Crazy thing. He really pivoted hard around the early '90s. Yeah,
but he's able to do both. Like anything that, even the serious stuff, he has a way to like infuse comedy in it and make it work. Where
to lighten it up.
It doesn't feel forced. It's just his way of doing it. And even though I've never met him personally, he just seems like one of the nicest.
He seems like a cool guy. Yeah.
Human beings you'd ever meet. So
agreed.
So which is probably why I'm such a big fan. And this is funny because this is only the second Tom Hanks movie I've done on the podcast. And it's like when you think of like my favorite actors, he's at one of the top of my list. But just haven't covered that many. I've got to do Splash. Of course, he had a lot of bombs in the 80s. I mean,
and one of his first
movies,
roles was in that D&D movie.
Monsters and Mazes.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, haven't seen it, but yeah, I see his. They have his face plastered on the front. Like, yeah,
that's right.
I have a feeling he's in this for like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
it's going to be pretty terrible.
Like yeah, it's not great, and it's a hard, it's a slog to get through. And I was like super jazzed for it. I saw it, and I was like, oh, okay. But no. I mean, he's like America's dad, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Everybody loves Tom Hanks. Yeah,
of course. Love Tom Hanks. So, all right. So, favorite Tom Hanks movie doesn't have to be 80s.
Ooh.
Which one's your favorite? I
know
that
it's hard because he was also the voice of Woody in Toy Story, and those are fantastic. So, I liked him in That Thing You Do as well.
Yes. Oh, I love that one.
Man, well, in the 80s, it's probably this movie, which is strange to say because I love Splash as well. But I think overall, in general, it might be A League of Their Own. I think.
Yeah.
Because I love Philadelphia is just really heavy. It's a incredible movie, but it's like,
it's a lot. Yeah.
And Forrest Gump is also really good, but I don't know. I have to watch that and I have to take a break between between watches with that. So it might be A League of Their Own. It's great. I love it.
Yeah, you're right. It's hard to pick. Forrest Gump would probably be the one that I would immediately think of because I was such a fan of that when it came out, and really once again balancing comedy and drama and how well that's done. And Robert Zemeckis, the direction that he does with the technology and stuff at the time is great. For 80s movie, I think Big wins out for me once again.
Right.
Thinking about how
you're right. Yeah, you're right.
How he once again the comedy and still being serious, and Penny Marshall was great directing that. But I mean, there's so many. Saving Private Ryan is one of my all-time favorite movies.
That's a
really I know I'm good on the list. So The Green Mile, You've Got Mail.
You've Got Mail's another one. Yeah.
So it's like
none of them are Seattle.
None of them are wrong. It's like you just name one. It's like that could be your number one.
That could be your favorite. It's okay.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think for the 80s it would be Big. It would be Big for me. That's another one I've seen a million times, and it's just it's perfect.
Yeah. Great showcase of his talent for sure. All right, well, let's talk about Shelley Long as Anna Crowley. In 1982, she played the character Diane Chambers in the new NBC comedy series. Maybe you've heard of it, Cheers. She played the part for 5 years, winning an Emmy for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series in 1983. On her summer hiatus from Cheers, she made feature films, receiving a Golden Globe nomination as Best Actress for Irreconcilable Differences in 1984. In 1987, she starred in the hit comedy Outrageous Fortune with Bette Midler. She soon after left Cheers after 5 years to embark on a film career. However, her films Hello Again in 1987 and Troop Beverly Hills in 1989 were not hits, even though I love Troop Beverly Hills.
Me too.
She returned to television, appearing in the final episode of Cheers in 1993. Yeah, she really didn't do much after that. I mean, I remember her as in the Brady Bunch movies. As Carol Brady, which she was great in that. But that's about really all she did after that. But she was great. I mean, she kind of played that same kind of character. And I think that's probably what hurt her the most. She was, she's pretty much playing Diane in this, and she was in Outrageous Fortune, and she was in, the other movies. But True Beverly Hills is another one. I remember I had a sleepover at my friend's house, my friend Kevin Whitworth, and his sister had a friend that was sleeping over too. And they the sisters and the mom wanted to watch True Beverly Hills. They rented it, and Kevin and I didn't, but we're like, well, it's a movie. Let's watch a movie. So we just sat down and we loved it. Afterwards, that was fun. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's definitely, out of all of the things she's done, that's definitely up there.
So a few things about this. Long recalled that although the director Richard Benjamin was so insistent on that she star in his film, after meeting with her at his home, the filmmaker also started to have doubts about whether she should do it. She was pregnant at the beginning, so they had to take a hiatus for her to have the baby. but she decided to do the film with an actor she wasn't familiar with, so she didn't really know who Tom Hanks was. She admitted, this is her quote, "When I finally decided that I want to do this movie, I didn't know anything about Tom Hanks. I think I'd seen him in Bosom Buddies, but I might have watched that after I knew I was going to work with him. I didn't know anything about him, but everybody said that he was great, so I thought, okay, I'll do it."
Can you imagine? I mean, I get it. This was like before he blew up, because Big was kind of like the thing that really pushed his career forward.
I mean, Splash was big, but it was like, that was his first kind of big movie.
Right.
He really, so he hadn't really had a second big movie to really kind of get him out there.
To cement, right, exactly.
Yeah.
And until Big. And but like nowadays, it's unheard of. Like you don't know Tom Hanks. But back then, I mean, I get it. Like, he was in like Bachelor Party, just these crazy
Volunteers.
Bosom Buddies, but it's not like
Buddies,
it's kind of like when Bruce Willis did Die Hard. People knew him from like Moonlighting.
And that's it.
That's about it, but Die Hard was the thing that kind of catapulted his career forward. Well, that's kind of like Big, really, with Tom Hanks. But can you imagine being like, man, who's this Hanks guy I gotta act with?
Yeah.
But now she can say she worked with Tom Hanks, which is super
right.
cool.
Exactly. Yeah. So I didn't realize this. Kathleen Turner was considered for the lead role as well. At the time, she was in a dispute with 20th Century Fox because she did not want to do the sequel to Romancing the Stone, Jewel of the Nile, that came out in 1985, and tried to use the offer of playing in this movie as a negotiating ploy, although some thought at the time it was simply an attempt to get paid more money. So who knows if it's true or not, but
right.
Yeah, I don't see the chemistry between Kathleen Turner and Tom Hanks.
Definitely not. No, it wouldn't have
that
worked.
Wouldn't have worked.
She has that like sultry seductiveness. I mean, she can be, you see in Romancing the Stone, she's also like a naive, she can play that, but it's not as gentle as I think Shelley Long. Shelley Long has more of a comedic edge for sure.
Yeah.
But she's able to, I think, gel with Tom Hanks better.
Yeah.
I definitely don't see Kathleen Turner doing it.
Yeah.
Especially after seeing her with Michael Douglas. Like, she needs a Michael Douglas character to play off of.
Yeah, totally different comedy style and totally different chemistry.
Right.
For sure.
What was that one? Undercover Blues. Do you remember that one? With
with,
who is it? Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid, that was Dennis Quaid. Yeah. I was trying to think. I haven't seen that one in a long time, but I remember that one. So
another one that's not great, but we watched it again a lot because they showed it a lot.
Yeah,
it's good old HBO shows the same movies like every month, and
if it was PG and PG-13 because they only ran R-rated movies at night. So if it was PG or PG-13, they were just going to keep that rolling during the day. So
exactly. So a lot of these I've seen a bazillion times, and that was one of them. But definitely hurt. Like, she was playing funny then, but even Dennis Quaid still kind of had that gruff, more manly edge that like Michael Douglas had. Tom Hanks doesn't.
Not at this time anyway. Yeah.
Right.
All right, moving right along, we got Alexander Godunov as Max, which is great. He was a Russian-American ballet dancer and film actor in 1979. He defected to the United States. While continuing to dance, he also began working as a supporting actor in Hollywood films. He had prominent roles in other films such as Witness in 1985, which I love, and Die Hard in 1988, which I also love. And I don't like talking about people's deaths, but I didn't really remember how he passed away. But he actually was a heavy alcoholic, and he was found unresponsive. Death was determined to be due to complications from hepatitis secondary to chronic alcoholism, which was really sad to hear.
Yeah.
But he's so good in this. I mean, just chewing up the scenery, just being the best, like, obnoxious ex that there could be,
Well, one of his best lines is when, he talks about, she left me too, but I'll get over it because I'm shallow, selfish, self-centered, and he played that character so well. But then, like, you look at Die Hard, and when his brother died and he's just like so angry, he's like, I want blood. And you're like, you feel that. So even though he was more of a ballet dancer, I mean, like, he wasn't too shabby of an actor either.
No, he was really good.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that he danced with Baryshnikov, Mikhail Baryshnikov.
Wow.
Yeah, like they had a. I was the deeper research than I needed for this podcast, but
Right.
they got into like a big dispute. I think Baryshnikov was like one of his teachers, and they had a falling out, which was one of the reasons why he defected. I'm like, well, didn't Baryshnikov defect like shortly after that? So
Probably. Yeah.
I was going to read one of my favorite lines from Walter. Let me see if I can find it. I should have wrote it down. It's yes. After he comes back, I love how he walks into the theater or the auditorium, and the orchestra is ready. He just takes off his jacket. He puts his bag down. He walked right up. He's like, okay, we're starting from the top. And they play through the whole thing. And this is his line. The union forces me to allow you to go to lunch in spite of the way you've played. Those of you with consciences will not be able to eat. And those whose consciences much match your talents, go stuff yourselves. I hope you choke.
It's so good.
Just delivered so well by him. That's just that was like one of the great scenes for sure.
The funny thing is, I have played in several bands and orchestras. Where the directors were very much like that, and you're just like, okay, come on, you're not like Leonard Bernstein or
right.
Leopold Stokowski or anything. Like, calm down, guy. I love his character Max. I love how at the end when he's conducting the orchestra for their wedding, and one of the singers from the band, which I think was played by White Lion, one of the singers from the band, he like looks over and she like makes eyes at him, and he's kind of like, hey.
Oh yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Witness was a very serious role. Die Hard, a serious role. To see him in a comedy just doing so well just shows how talented he really was. So.
Yeah, it was nice.
All right, and then the rest of these are all like very small roles. First on the list is Maureen Stapleton as Estelle, who sells them the house. She's hilarious. I knew I'd seen her other things, but this is probably the thing I remember the most from. But she was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for Lonely Hearts in '58, Airport in 1970, and Interiors in '78, before winning for her performance as Emma Goldman in Reds in 1981. She was nominated for 5 Golden Globe Awards, winning for Airport. Other notable film roles include Bye Bye Birdie in '63, which is probably where I saw her in, Plaza Suite in '71, The Fan in '81, Cocoon in '85.
That's what I know from.
And Nuts in '87, which I think is a Barbara Streisand movie. So.
I don't think I ever saw that one, but I remember Cocoon.
Yeah.
She's another funny, it's just a bit part, right? She at the beginning, and then at the very end, kind of bookending the whole story.
Right.
But, like when she, he was Hitler's pool boy.
Right. Yeah.
and just, when he mentions your pool is like the best kept pool I've ever seen. And he's just,
right. What did I say? Yeah.
It's like her timing was her comedic timing was just great.
Oh yeah. The scene I love is when she's sitting on the edge of the bed, which once again, after you've seen the movie, to go back and watch and see how, she uses the candles so they don't turn the lights on.
Oh, they don't turn the lights on.
She tells them to use the bathroom downstairs because her personal items are still in the one upstairs.
Yeah.
And then she doesn't sit on the bed. She sits on the edge of the bed, so you don't realize that it's sunken in the middle. But she's sitting there with like her drink, and like she starts talking, and then Shelley Long's off looking at something else, and then she starts to like lean over, like the drink is gonna spill. Like every time I see that, I'm like, I think this, like the drink is gonna spill, and she saves her from it. But that scene always makes me laugh. Well, she's just so good in that.
But it's also like, how do they not turn on the lights? How do they like? I mean, I get it. She's telling you a story about the blood-sucking lawyers or whatever, but also like, you're going to buy the house, make sure things work.
Right.
So it's kind of on that.
But that was smart because that's what he's doing. He's downstairs. He's checking like the water is hot, the toilet's working, there's no leaks. But they don't think about turn on the lights. They don't, she answers the door before they get there, so they don't use the doorbell.
Right.
It's like all those things that later, like why didn't they do this? Now you know why. So. Oh man, so good. But she was great. She was great in that little small part. And then Joe Mantegna has like 5th billing in this movie, and he's literally in it for like less than 2.5 minutes. Like he comes in at the beginning and he's play. Every time I see him, I'm like, why is this not John Lovitz? Because he's playing John Lovitz in this scene. Like he's just swarmy and offensive and just But Joe Mantegna. We talked about on Three Amigos in '86. He was in The Godfather Part 3, Forget Paris in '95. Of course, now he was in the last season of Criminal Minds more recently.
Oh, right.
He's been in a ton of stuff, but yeah, he's
Fat Tony on The Simpsons.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So yeah, just another great cameo. So the rest of these are all people that I would say I saw them and was like, I know who that is, but I couldn't, think of their names off the top of my head. Some I could, but
right. There's a lot of like bit part guys.
Yeah.
Like character actors, really.
So one of them was one of the construction workers, Frankie Faison as James. He's the one that when she opens up the medicine cabinet and he's like, "Oh, are you? What are you looking for?" Alka-Seltzer. Oh, I got you right here. You're almost out of birth control pills, right?
Oh yeah.
So you'll know him from Coming to America. He was the landlord. He's also in Do the Right Thing. He was in White Chicks. He's been in a bunch of TV shows. He was most recently on The Rookie Feds. He was in that. So, but yeah, I recognized him pretty much immediately. Now, this is one that I recognized him in the movie, but I couldn't think of what he was in. But it's Brian Backer, who's the guy playing ping pong in the house or the apartment before they have to move out. And he's best known for his role as Radner in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I was like, I recognize his face, but I couldn't think of what it was from. And so that was him.
Yeah.
And he was also in Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol as Arnie.
It's another one I love.
Yeah.
All those Police Academy movies are so terrible, but I love them. They're amazing. Yeah.
I've been going back and rewatching them. I started with the first one. I watched 2, 3. I think I've watched 4, so I think I'm at 5 now. But I'll watch like 1 or 2 a day, and then I take a break, and then I'll wait a couple of days because you can't watch them all back to back because it just all the repetition just becomes overload. Yeah,
right.
So another one, I recognized him immediately, and this is when the scene where Tom Hanks is trying to get the water, and he's going down when he's falling through the scaffolding outside the house, and he's the guy that's he looks like they're listening to the radio, and he's using his hands, playing the beat behind the black guy that's looking at. But that's Michael Jeter. His name is Arnie in the credits, but he's most known for The Fisher King in '91. He was also in The Green Mile in '99. He's been in Sister Act 2, back in The Habit, Air Bud. He was in Jurassic Park 3. He's just one of those, once again, one of those that guys that you see him, but very young role.
You're like,
yeah. Because at first I was like, is that him? And then he turned his face, and I was like, they did a close up. I was like, that's him. That's Michael Jeter. So, and then 3 that I won't go into their filmographies, but the paramedic who assists the real estate agent in the ambulance. I couldn't tell by his face when he was talking. I was like, I know that voice. Who is that? That's Wendell Pierce. And if you don't know Wendell Pierce is, he's been in a ton of shows like Suits. He's most recently been in the Jack Ryan show on Amazon. He's much heavier set now, but he has a very distinctive deep voice. But so when I was like, that was Wendell Pierce. I had no idea. And then 2 of the handymen or repairmen, Jake Steinfeld, also known as Body by Jake, if you knew that back in the 80s.
Yes.
Right. So that's
I remember
him.
that one.
And then the guy he's talking to when they're talking about when Tom Hanks wakes up on the ping pong table after the big fight, he's talking to Nestor Serrano, who that was his film debut as well. So Nestor Serrano's been in a bunch of, I think he was in one of the Law and Order shows.
Banshee, I think too.
Yeah.
Yakov Smirnoff is another one.
Yes, I didn't put him down because he had one really short appearances, but yeah. I really wanted to find out. I don't think he did anything else, but the kid that played Benny, I thought was so funny.
Oh,
teenager. But I couldn't. I didn't see that he really done anything else. But I just that's one of the funniest scenes.
Like you anymore.
Yeah. But yeah,
so good.
He comes in. You see me? Are you done? No, I need to talk to you. And then he puts his cigarette out, and he's like, "Are you gonna do that? You know, my mother, clean that up." And I guess his handler or whatever goes and picks it up. Just like a mom, who's in a maid outfit. I wish I had 100 of them. He's like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's just the perfect kid star. What do you say? I guess he was a recording artist.
Yeah, so Tom Hanks, I think his job is he's like a CPA for like a big time CP. He inherited all his dad's clients, and I guess his dad was like some sort of tax person.
Yeah. I think like an entertainment lawyer, so they're
something like that. Yeah.
They know the entertainment law for like the taxes and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
And I love it when he's trying to pay the guy for the band, and he's like, "Here's I think it'll be half of what my dad owes you." He's like, "Oh man, you should." Yeah. They're used to people stealing from them. You take the money, you're gonna insult them. It's like, why are you doing this? Because I like you better than them.
But they're your sister and your brother.
Yeah.
So
it's
good.
those little bits that are like really funny, just the little side conversations. And I know we're all over scenes, but it doesn't matter. We're moving that way anyway.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
but no, you're good. Cross-dressers, the band, was it cheap?
Oh, the cheap
chicks, or no, it's bad chicks.
It's cheap something.
No, it's chicks is chicks, something chicks.
Hold on. I wrote it down here. I just got
okay.
They wanted to change their names to Meryl
Streep, yeah.
Oh gosh, where is it?
Maybe she'll be flattered. No, I'm pretty sure she won't be.
I can tell you she won't be.
Yeah, and you'll have a huge lawsuit. What about Debbie Reynolds?
I guess I thought it was the Cheap Girls. I can't find it in my notes here.
Okay, let me see if I can find it. Like it's gonna matter at this point.
No. I'm just curious.
If I hadn't tried to talk about it, I'd remember.
I know that's exactly Cheap Girls. Yeah, right.
Is it Cheap Girls? Not Cheap.
I think it's just Cheap Girls. Yeah.
Oh, maybe that is. Yeah, it is Cheap Girls. Yeah, because the leader of the cross-dressing group Cheap Girls is Leslie West, one of the great hard rock guitarists of the '70s from the band Mountain, which is a band I've never heard of. But anyway,
I don't know Mountain.
Yeah.
And I know I listen to a lot of '70s movie, but yeah. Your name is perfect.
Girls.
Cheap Girls.
Yeah.
We want to call ourselves Meryl Streep. They're just in drag, but they have like these thick beards.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's
just let you know the clientele he has. So.
Yeah.
It's funny.
So when you have like mega superstars and a bunch of them, it works because they're all, at that level. But I like when casts have a lot of these like little bit part actors, like character actors.
Yeah.
For some reason, something about them, it just like, it really does gel better for me as a movie because like not everyone's trying to steal the scene. I feel like whenever you have like a big ensemble, or, all these like major stars, even in bit parts, I feel like they're always trying to steal the scene.
Right.
Not always. Sometimes it really works, but I just always get that vibe. And here it's like they know their role, they know what their assignment is, and they nail it every time.
I agree with that.
And now these messages.
Are you a fan of movies and TV shows inspired by comics? Ready for a podcast that dives deep into the thrilling world of adaptations? Well, look no further. Welcome to Moving Panels, the podcast where we discuss movies and TV shows based on, inspired by, and adapted from the world of comic books. This is your go-to podcast for all things comics on screen. I'm your host, Laramie Wells, and every Monday we explore the dynamic universe where ink meets action. We break down the classics, reveal hidden gems, and uncover the creative process behind your favorite adaptations. Subscribe to Moving Panels now on your favorite podcast platform and join us on this epic journey through the pages of comics and onto the big screen. Remember, new episodes drop every Monday. Don't miss out. Moving Panels, where every panel has a story and every adaptation is a blockbuster. Subscribe today, and I'll see you on the other side of the page.
The people at KPMG make the difference for their clients. Talented teams leveraging the right technology to uncover insights that illuminate opportunity. KPMG teams together with their clients, working shoulder to shoulder with them to help grow and transform their enterprise. Are you ready to make the difference together? Go to visit.kpmg.us/transformation to learn more.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Pet injury is an additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
Well, let's talk iconic scenes.
Okay.
If someone said to you "Money Pit," what's the first scene that's going to pop into your head?
When he falls through the floor. So
or sinks into the floor.
He sinks into the floor. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He steps. I guess they made a hole or something,
and threw a rug over top of it.
And there's a rug on top of it. And he like steps in. And he's just slowly sinking in, and he gets stuck. And so he misses an appointment with like the inspector.
Yeah.
When his wife comes home, the permits, right? And when his wife comes home, or not wife, but girlfriend, and he's like, help! She's trying to like call out, and he can't.
Right.
He's screaming like, "I'm down here!" She's like, "I was just in there. Where are you? I don't have time for this." And man, that every time, that's like the very first thing I think of. It's great.
Yeah, and then she tries to help him out, and he falls through.
Oh,
it's like, well, after that fall, we're now the same height.
Yeah.
So.
That's right.
Oh,
right.
Man.
Yeah.
I think of that one
at first. Yeah.
For me, the iconic scene is probably the tub falling through when they're pouring pouring the water in it. The other one is when the staircase falls apart.
The stairs. Yeah. And he's like,
honey, you're on my fingers.
And then he just falls.
Yeah, and then she looks down on him. And I like how he's trying to like blow her a kiss, but you can tell his hands hurt. He's got his hands all curled up. And the next thing is like, I would help you, but someone stepped on all my fingers.
I know. Talk about that's aggressive. I know. I'm just cranky.
Yeah.
but or when she's like making the turkey, this is kind of
yes.
And he turns on like a light, and then you just see the fuse or like the
everything
line just burning through, just tiles popping off. Luckily, he's able to unplug the blender, but the TV just kind of explodes.
Yeah, the blender melts.
The blend, and it's great. And then the turkey flies out of the oven, and he's all like, "Don't light the gas!" And fine, but it explodes and sends the turkey flying, crashing through windows and into like a weird, gross bucket, and then just pops out.
Yep, turkey's done. Yeah,
that one I love the statue.
Yes, the little kid peeing. Yeah,
the fountain, the peas. Yeah. Oh man, as a kid, I thought that was the funniest thing ever.
Yes, that was definitely
can we get a statue like that?
Right. And I love when he looks over and it's like it keeps trying to it's inconsistent with the stream.
Yeah,
prostate trouble.
Prostate trouble.
Over my head as a kid, but now.
Oh yeah, totally didn't get it.
Funny, but yeah.
That one that you mentioned it, the scaffolding scene.
Scaffolding scene is my favorite.
And just falling down in the paint, and he's just like covered in rags and all white. Yeah, another great one.
And I love that too, because at the same time, she's partly to blame because she's unplugging the huge thing, trying to find a plug to plug in the coffee maker, I think.
Right.
And so she unplugs the saw.
Right.
The whatever. I'm no tool person, but the saw, whatever. And then the guy can't get it to work. And so then of course when he falls on the beam, it sends the saw up top. Then she plugs it back in. Of course, that causes the next thing to fall. It's like it's just like how well that was constructed of just the little pieces that make everything go. And then oh man, it's just so funny.
Yeah, I really like her chemistry with Max.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be her ex-husband. He was a conductor.
Right.
He was a violinist.
Mm-hmm.
And so he is vain and self-centered, and he doesn't really want her back, but he kind of wants her back now that she's with someone else,
Oh, of course, yeah.
And so he's trying to just their back and forth where he's trying to seduce her, and she's just like, "No, I love Walter," and he's like, "Stop saying that."
Yeah. She's like, "Yeah, you love you, I love Walter.
That's it.
Stop saying that. What is it?" He's like, "Walter, how can you love Walter? He's not even a musician. She's a lot of the people in the world aren't. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, he has some great lines. Oh, I love the other line when he's
trying to oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, yeah, the other line, and I'm not gonna pull this one up, but just I'll talk about the scene. But after he realizes that she should be with Walter, and he's walking out, and the guy's like dabbing with the paintbrush. He's like, no, stroke up and down, don't tickle, paint or whatever he says, and don't smoke.
Don't
and then he takes
smoke, and he grabs
it, takes a drag, and then throws it down. Yeah. So great.
Yeah, he did a great job with that role. He really nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when she opens up the medicine cabinet and he's just
that was always one of my favorite scenes, was that when he opened up. Oh no, and then when she's like, have you seen Mr. Fielding? Fielding, never heard of him. Walter? Oh yeah, Walter. And she's like, have you seen him? No, he went to get water. And he turns the faucet on, like, why are you looking for water? There's water right here.
There's water right here, yeah. She's so excited that they have running water. Well, and or when he's coming back in the cab.
Oh yeah.
The guy's like, you tested missiles here?
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, that's the running joke.
That's the running gag. Yeah,
they're testing missiles. And then of course, how long is this going to take? 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah, that's the other gag.
I think me and my dad said that for years about anytime we were about to do a job. How long do things take, Dad? About 2 weeks. That was just our little joke about how long it would take the good little project. So, oh man, I think I've hit all my favorite scenes. I mean,
I have too.
But we've, like I said, it's not a very long movie, and the best parts of the movie to me is when they first move in and just seeing all the things that fall, when he hits the doorbell and it burns his finger, and then he's like, the door falls in. Yeah. Then he puts the door back together, and then he comes inside and closes the door, and the whole frame falls out, it's just so perfect. And then when they're moving the mattress to the floor so it doesn't sink in the bed, and they're convincing each other, or she's convincing him not to give up on the house. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. And you see the thunder and the lightning outside. Then all of a sudden you hear the rain come in and just huge holes in the ceiling. Oh man,
why didn't they get an inspector for this?
Right. Exactly.
Guys, come on, do your due diligence, please.
We've learned a lot since then. Yeah.
Joe Mantegna's role. You're right. He wasn't in the movie very long.
Mm-hmm.
He she calls like a contractor, and he is in a position where when women usually call him, it's for other things. And so he just thought she was good looking wool.
Yeah, she's a nice piece of wool. Yeah.
so first she gets really offended, and Walter's like, about to like beat him up basically, and then he's like, whoa, someone called the carpenter, and so he's like, oh, whoa, and he changes his tune immediately, and he's like, honey, he just thought you were good looking wool, it's okay. Because apparently no other carpenter will take this job, so he's like,
right.
So he starts buttering him up. He's like, I talked with the Shirk brothers. Good news, you won't have to sleep with him.
Right. Just entertain him for a while. Yeah. Little dinner, light dancing.
It's clever. Yeah.
I wonder how much Tom Hanks got to ad lib some of those. I'm sure he got a few in probably.
I was wondering that too. Like how much was scripted and how much was actually ad lib? Because some of the lines, the way he says them. And I mean, it could just be the way it was directed, if it was scripted, but they feel more like they were just improv.
Yeah. Well, I know this is one of my trivia things. We'll kind of move in that direction, but screenwriters Lowell Gans and Babalu Mandel, who co-wrote Splash, wrote an uncredited draft of the script. In the film's original trailer, they were credited along with the film's writer David Giler, but they weren't credited in the final movie. So with him working with them, I'm sure they probably like, hey, try this, or gave him a couple of extra jokes maybe to throw in there too. So it has some of those kind of like, and they were big sitcom writers too. So it had some of those kind of sitcom kind of lines every once in a while, or situations that worked. So I could see that being there too.
And this was supposed to be a Christmas release, wasn't it?
Yes, it was originally supposed to release at Christmas. In the initial first trailer, is scheduled to release Christmas of '85, but they pushed it back to spring of '86. So it actually didn't come out until March.
I wonder if it would have done better as a Christmas release.
Well, it would have been better for your podcast because you could have covered it if it came out at Christmas. But no.
But no, I mean, like, it feels more like a Christmas release rather than a spring release. Like, I could have seen it doing a lot better, because Clue came out Christmas of '85 as well. And, so they're like that lighthearted kind of comedy.
Yeah.
Does pretty well there. So I don't know why they pushed it back, but I feel like it might have been a little more successful had it come out a few months earlier.
Yeah, sometimes it's just that when the release and what's coming out at the same time doesn't work. So yeah, I didn't dig too deep to find out why it was pushed back, but they're probably trying to keep it from compete. Maybe they didn't want it to compete with Clue.
Could be
or something like that. So because we'll get into it, we get to box office, but it didn't have very stiff competition its opening weekend like the other new releases. It was the top of the new releases that came out that week. It didn't debut at number 1, but we'll get into it. So
okay.
All right. So let's hit a couple of scenes and trivia. We may think about some other scenes if we need to. Don't have a whole lot here. I'll just hit the highlights. I thought this was funny. Rich and Christina Makowski purchased the estate of the house for the movie in 2002, not realizing how much work the home needed. They said the house was definitely falling apart when we went from room to room. We definitely could have done the sequel. The couple invested millions in extensive renovations and is currently selling the house for $8 million, $4.5 million less than they asked for in 2014. I don't know when this was published, but not recently. But yeah, I could imagine, even if they remodel it in 86 or 85 and then trying to resell it now. I'm sure it still needed some upkeep. The film's title in Germany was Gestinkt ist noch zu teuer, which I'm sure that's not how you say it. Translation is free is still too expensive.
It's true.
Really good title.
It's a good title, yeah.
Free is still too expensive.
Yeah. I wonder, because the money pit, you hear, I mean, nowadays we but I wonder if it would have been like a better, if that would have been a better title, or even like a lemon or I don't know, something. I wonder if the money pit title is what tanked it.
It seemed to fit even with the poster, like you knew what kind of movie it was going to be.
Right.
Even the trailer was pretty much showing you what the movie was about. And so I don't know why it didn't hit the market like you think it would, but I'll say it was still successful. The critics didn't like it. It did make decent money. It wasn't a complete bomb. It just it didn't have the staying power, it's not as remembered as some of the other like Splash and Big, League of Their Own, other, Tom Cruise movies, and Tom Hanks movies. I want to call him Tom Cruise. It's getting late.
I understand. Yeah. Well, I know Siskel and Ebert didn't like it at all. I think gave it like 1 star each. It was bad. And I know most critics called it out for being a remake, right? I think is what I read.
Yeah. They said it was the screwball comedy aspect of it. They thought didn't work. Like they thought there was too. Yeah, I read a couple of different things. Like the screwball comedy, they said didn't work, and they compared it to Steven Spielberg's 1941. That wasn't very successful for him either. One person said Shelley Long wasn't funny; she was just cute, which I don't know where they got that from because I thought she was.
I thought she was hilarious. Yeah.
And they were like, Tom Hanks is playing the same old somber character he always plays. I'm like, I didn't get that at all. But once again, it's like it's what movies they were wanting to see at that time versus what we were watching at the time. So
I think that does definitely have a huge play, because I remember when in the late 80s, early 90s on Saturday Night Live, and it had like when it had Dana Carvey and Mike Myers and Adam Sandler and Kevin Nealon, like that whole cast. I loved that era. I thought it was amazing. It was so funny, but apparently most people didn't. And so that's why they let a lot of those guys go. And then they kind of started off, again. And it's like, but it was funny. What are you talking about? Like going back and watching them, it was amazing. So I wonder if it's just like certain age groups appreciate it more.
Yeah. Like I said, I think for us, and like being in middle school, the screwball comedy, the physical comedy, that's what drew us in.
Right.
Yeah. And for like adults that were going to say like they'd seen all that stuff before. It wasn't anything new for them. And it's, as an adult, it becomes a little predictable. You kind of know what's going to happen. So, yeah, but critics are critics, and they're going to say what they're going to say. So,
yeah, that's also true. But I know that they did like Alexander Goodenough.
They did, yeah. They praised him for his comedic performance for sure.
Which I completely agree with. I mean, he's definitely the funniest part of there.
All right, well, let's talk about box office and critical reception.
Right.
As we mentioned before, it was supposed to come out in Christmas '85. They pushed it back to spring of '86. So it was released in North American theaters on March 28th. It was the highest grossing new release, landing in the number 2 spot at the box office. It just couldn't dethrone Police Academy 3 Back in Training from the number 1 spot for its second week.
I think 3 is one of my least favorite of them. One with Mauser.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I always preferred Captain Harris over Mauser as an antagonist, but that's interesting.
It wasn't considered a bomb. It was considered a commercially successful movie.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Sure.
If, let's say that it wasn't Tom Hanks and Shelley Long. Let's say you were recasting this with other 80s actors. Who would you use?
Ooh, that's tough. Other 80s actors.
I think John Candy would have done really well in Tom Hanks's role as well.
Yeah. I don't think of him for like the physical comedy as much, though.
Well, that's also true.
Steve Martin, maybe. I could see Chevy Chase because I mean that's kind of
Chevy Chase definitely.
Yeah, it's kind of the same. He was kind of the same as Griswold, the slapstick kind of stuff.
But he'd definitely have more of an edge to him.
Yeah, Michael Keaton would be interesting.
Oh,
his comedy roles. For the female though,
Johnny Dangerously, and
Mr.
Mom and Gung Ho. So I could see that. That'd be fun. I feel like Shelley Long's character would be a little bit harder to cast.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of like for her character being like in the orchestra.
Yeah, that one's harder.
It's hard for me not to say Kirstie Alley just because I know she replaced her for
Cheers.
Yeah, unfortunately that's the first person that pops in my head.
That's fun.
I could see Bette Midler kind of somewhat in that too. Maybe a little too old at that point.
Well, I mean that actually reminds me. Then, what about if you did Steve Martin and Lily Tomlin, like reprising?
Oh yeah,
again.
Yeah,
Man with Two Brains or one of those.
Yeah. Ooh, what if this was a Gene Wilder and
and
Gilda Radner?
Yeah,
that would have been fun.
Yeah,
that would have been a lot of fun.
That would have been a lot of. I agree. Yeah.
Good question. Man, you should have a podcast where you ask questions like that.
I was just thinking about it, like who else could have played this?
Yeah,
and I couldn't really put my finger on it.
Yeah,
I mean, I could see all the bad stuff happening to Billy Crystal, but I think he would just laugh it off. I don't think he would have like played into the comedy and tragedy part of the comedy as much. Yeah.
He would have been more with the quips,
right,
and not so much of the physical comedy, like his reactionary stuff. So critical reception, Rotten Tomatoes has it 50% on the tomato meter, a 58 audience score. IMDb has it 6.4 out of 10 with viewers and a 49 on Metacritic. So pretty middle of the road,
right down the middle,
all around. I wouldn't grade it that low.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah. It's going to be in like the 80s, 8 out of 10 for me. It's, it's highly rewatchable. It's fun. It's not the greatest comedy. It's not, but it's still fun. And once again, for the nostalgia part and just something that's enjoyable, I think it fits in that spot for me.
I agree because it's not like a strict comedy, right? Because towards the end, he accuses her of having an affair, and then they get into like this crazy fight, and they're split. I mean, it almost turns into like a drama for a little bit, that last like 20 minutes. It's really intense, and then of course they make up because it had good, a good foundation, like they say.
Right.
So, I mean, it is strange because it's not like just pure Caddyshack. Like a comedy drama, So, but I would agree. It's somewhere in the 80s for me as well. I think if it had been like funny all the way through,
might
actually have put it lower, I think, for me. Just, something about that little edge of drama that kind of brings it up a notch. So
yeah, I appreciate that more as an adult. I think as a kid, like once they had the big fight, it was like it wasn't as fun anymore.
It wasn't as funny.
I'm just ready for the end at that point, which doesn't doesn't drag too long, but we've seen enough romantic comedies now to know what's going to happen. There's going to be an argument. Right. There's going to be a misunderstanding.
Always.
And then they're going to realize, I didn't sleep with him. He lied to me. It's like, well, I was going to forgive you anyway. The whole reconciliation. But I think we stayed just because we loved this, and you'll appreciate it as a musician. But we wanted to watch the end because we loved the classical beginning of Ode to Joy, that then the rock band came in, and we're like, yeah, rock on, music should be like this all the time, So it's such a short little spot.
I love that Alexander Goodenough was in 2 movies with Ode to Joy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so good.
That was definitely his theme song for sure.
But I did think it was funny that he's doing that, and then the band rocks out. He's just like. Just conducting and brave and triumphantly.
Well, yeah, it makes sense. But they're bringing their 2 worlds together. That's the classical is her side. He's all the crazy rock bands that he's befriended and worked with now. So yeah. Oh man.
Or sorry, is it Debbie Reynolds? I don't remember.
Yeah, whatever they changed it to. Debbie Reynolds might have let him use it. I don't know. We'll see.
She might have. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've covered this one pretty well. I think
yeah.
We've given The Money Pit its fair and just due as a movie that should not be forgotten anymore. It needs to make its way back into the love of all 80s. I'm sure 80s flick lovers love it already because it's one that we remember. But so what you got coming up on Totally Rad Christmas that you want to tell people about?
Oh, let's see. So I think by the time this drops, I will have just released my Clue episode. That was a December, a Christmas release. And I got to talk with the filmmaker of the Clue documentary, the Whodunit Clue documentary. Really cool guy, learned a lot. Got some other things coming up, but mostly I'm getting ready for Christmas in July. That's like my next big thing. But
yeah. All right. Well, Gerry, thank you so much for joining. Always a pleasure to have you. Always great to have you on the show. So I look forward to having you back. We got a few more coming up before the end of the year too. So be teaming up with some other co-hosts. So
yeah, that'll be fun.
All right, folks, that's a wrap on today's episode of the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast. If you had as much fun as we did, please show us some love with an awesome review and a shiny 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to hit that follow or subscribe button and spread the word to all your 80s flick loving pals. Got questions or just want to chat about your favorite flicks? You can reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And if you're feeling super cool, why not support the show over at buymeacoffee.com? Even as little as $5 a month makes a big difference. Plus, you can totally rock some killer 80s Flick Flashback gear and original designs by checking out our online store at 80sflickflashback.com and tpublic.com for all the nostalgic swag you can want. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Tim Williams for the 80s Flick Flashback Podcast. Home crap home.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.